Welcome to HubSpot's Unconventional Business podcast. I'm your host, James Gilbert. The best companies are the ones that make it incredibly easy and delightful to do business with. It's seamless, frictionless, intuitive. It's not just a better experience, they're actually disrupting our very notion of what consumers should be able to expect from companies. You see, Aussies and Kiwis are a hard bunch to please. We have some of the highest expectations in the world, and luckily for us, our homegrown businesses know this. This season on HubSpot's Unconventional Business, you'll be meeting some of our best homegrown brands as they share how they're growing and winning by disrupting the customer experience. Let's meet today's guest. So most of us at some point have probably felt over our heads when we're in a winery or a bottle shop and we're trying to pick a wine that's tasty but isn't going to break the bank. There are rows and rows of the stuff, all with different names, and it's almost like there's an exclusive language defining what is that great bottle of wine, and it's one you just can't put into Google Translate. Well, to help us understand this wine language into something that everybody can understand, we've got a great guest for you this week. Our guest is Mariano Favia, Vinomofo's head of marketing. Welcome to the show, Mariano.
Thank you, James. That's a great intro.
Oh, thank you. For people that don't know Vinomofo, how would you describe it?
I would say we are the most modern company in terms of wine, at least in APAC, which disruptive in terms of how people used to consider wine, brought wine for everyone. What it was before in the time, like something that was only for rich people, and you have to drink a wine for Burgundy to taste a real wine. We took that away and we brought it to the people and standardized how drink good wine doesn't have to be expensive. And I think we made that accessible for everyone. That's how we describe it, accessible for everyone.
And how did it actually start? How did you start on that journey?
Vinomofo. So Vinomofo started with the founder, Justin and Andre. Both started the journey. They both come from the wine industry, and they were both passionate about wines and started building different business models in terms of wine. They started with drop shipping, and they started pivoting different business models until they reached what is at some point what is Vinomofo today. So they both come from the wine, so they wine passionate about it, and they don't want to pay $1 billion for a nice bottle of wine. So they brought that philosophy into what is today the core value of Vinomofo.
Why do you think something like it hadn't existed before? I think like wine as a product has been around for hundreds of years, but it always, I think to your point, has been coveted in this way that doesn't make it as accessible and makes it hard for people. And I'm absolutely in this camp, like lay people like myself, I don't know the difference between all these French sounding names, and I'm pretty scared to actually pronounce them to somebody. So why was it at the time right for Vinomofo to open up that world and make it more accessible?
I think mostly is within the disruption of technology. Technology allowed Vinomofo's core philosophy to make it live. I think before, and this we're talking about 30, 40 years ago, drinking good wine was only for a bunch of rich people. And because no many people had access to the information about that, wine was pretty much exclusive for this group. And I think all the technology allowed the disruption, not only for the wine industry, but also other industries, to make that wine, and you can replace wine with whatever kind of commodity you want, accessible for everyone. And that was the case for Vinomofo. Access to information was at the time, and wine just made that what Vinomofo is today.
It's actually kind of why HubSpot as a company came into existence. Was the internet really empowered people to do a lot more of their own research and a lot more information to be democratized. And so if you wanted to get informed on a subject or about a company, you could actually do a lot more of that research yourself as an individual than used to be true, where prior to the internet, you would only be able to get the information that the companies decided to release however they decided to do that. And so what does that look like? So it's largely people come to the website, and do you have lots of information where you try to educate them about different styles of wine, or is it more actually stripping away a lot of the reasons people thought they had to get educated before buying a glass of wine, or is it a bit of both?
I think it's a combination, correct? We do explain in every product page what the wine is, but in a language that people will understand. We do not say fancy words that are hard, that you need to go to a dictionary to understand what they're from, or actually finding the actual meaning. We just put the actual description of what do feel like the wine is, and we put in words that everyone can understand, and that's what makes us very unique. Core of a brand purpose is no BS, no bow ties, and we just leave that in every day at Vinomofo, which is do and say things the way they are, and we don't have to explain with fancy words what the things that really are. So if the wine it goes well with lamb, it goes well with lamb. It doesn't go well with lamb with rosemary, a little bit of orange. No, it goes well with lamb. Everyone knows what lamb is, and this one goes out. It's good for with that type of food. So I think we just simplify the decision process from customers, understanding how they talk, and again, it brings the core philosophy of Vinomofo to the customer. So that's essentially it. So we explain what the wine is, but in a language that it's understand for everyone. So it's easy.
Yeah. I feel like prior to you existing and prior to those descriptions, it was another language you had to learn before you could even understand what people were saying. It's weird. There was like a made up language in between understanding what the product was like and what you were experiencing. And it feels like your mission has really been to take away that language and say, no, it's pretty straightforward. Like you're consuming something and it should make you feel certain ways. You should taste a certain thing. And we're going to describe that in the language that you use every day so that everybody doesn't have to learn this foreign language to get an understanding.
That is correct. And it also adding to that, which is very interesting, every day we try to improve our customer experience, user experience on the website. So people, for example, they don't have to guide them their buying decision by a label. That's not what drinking good wine is. I could have the best wine label, but if the taste of the wine is not good, then the label means nothing. So we take the design out of what a beautiful label could be, and that's it. It's fantastic to have a beautiful label, but it doesn't express what the actual liquid is. So the idea of the descriptions and talking in a language that is accessible for everyone simplifies and reduces the impact of a pretty label.
Yeah,
makes sense.
Absolutely. It's interesting. Like if I think about my own experience, I really do not know the old language of wine at all. And I would go to bottle shops trying to buy wine, going around to someone's house for dinner or something, and I wouldn't know how to choose what's good or not. And so the only things I could default to were like, well, I guess it has to be in a certain price range. Like, I guess I can't spend less than $20, and like, I don't want to spend more than 30. And then like, I actually did choose bottles because I was like, well, that label looks cool. It's like a spotted pig, kind of interesting. Like, but then I also had the opposite mindset at the same time where I was like, but does that mean it's actually like a crap bottle of wine and they're just, the way they're marketing this product is through the label and they don't need to do it? It's almost like when you have a restaurant in a killer location, the food might not be good because they've got the location to rest on. And I was wondering if it's the same with wine, where it's like, you know, if the location of the restaurant is in the middle of nowhere, but people go, it's because the food is phenomenal.
Correct.
Someone's doing a pretty amazing design on their label. Maybe the wine's not so good. So I was flying blind.
Yeah, and that's very common in many industries, including wine, where sometimes what you pay is actually the convenience or a brand. You don't pay for the actual product. It might sound irrational, but it is what it is. Sometimes I could be on the road, rushing because my dog, I don't know, I need dog bags, and I have to pay a premium for that. And I didn't pay for the bags. I paid for the convenience to have those bags at that time, and I'm happy to pay 10 times sometimes because that's what I was paying. And it's that can be extrapolated into many industries, including wine.
And how, I think the one of price as it relates to wine is particularly interesting because, as you said, it's been one of these industries that has been around a long time, used to be associated more with wealth, and that people would spend actually pretty outrageous sums of money on wine versus most liquids. And I think where that dynamic exists, people assign value to how much something costs. Like, how has that impacted Vinomofo's journey where you're trying to say, no, the price doesn't necessarily indicate the quality?
Correct. And that's another core of our brand, the relationship with our suppliers. And that's exactly right. The price doesn't sometimes, not in every case, sometimes doesn't represent the actual value of the juice. Mm-hmm. And what we do at Vinomofo is trying to have the best relationship with the wineries and producers, so we can bring that beautiful juice at a price that is convenient for the customer. So we can bring this, what we call the epic wines and good wines only, by delivering 100% happiness guarantee. So, how do we do that? Is having an excellent relationship with the producers, so we can have the best price for what we call our mofos to deliver 100% happiness guarantee. And it's about relationship with suppliers, and that's what equal as our customers, we love them as much.
What does 100% happiness guarantee actually mean if I'm a customer?
It's more about a brand purpose. It's not something that we communicate as much as we should, probably. It's how we deliver things internally for the customer. And the customer could be the actual customer, or could be a client inside Vinomofo. Could be a supplier. It could be the person who's making the deliveries, the warehouse people. It's a philosophy, happiness guarantee. And how we started with that was with our return policy. And nobody kind of knows it or as much, but if you order 12 bottles of wine, and if you didn't like 2 of them, you have 365 days to return it, and we will not ask any questions.
Wow.
So that is happiness guarantee. You didn't like it, we're terribly sorry. That can happen for many reasons. And here's your money back. And we do ask why you didn't like it, so we can learn, but not as a way just to not to give the money back. That is not the philosophy. Just you're gonna get the money back. That's fantastic, and we're terribly sorry. In fact, you're gonna get a discount for your next purchase, because it's just no ideal. So that's how much we take care of our mofos, and that is happiness guarantee. Free returns, no questions asked, and make sure that you will order again from Vinomofo with the one that you absolutely love, and we give you a recommendation next time.
Do many people take you up on that? I feel like there's
not many returns.
Wow. That's pretty fascinating, though, because if you think about what you're trying to do, you're trying to take people that aren't really sure what they're wanting to buy, and you're giving them recommendations of a product where there's a pretty wide variance of people's taste and what they like and dislike. And so you would think within that, if people aren't sure what they want, and the spectrum of people generally what they like is quite wide, the probability that somebody would purchase something and be like, oh yeah, I got this wrong. Like I didn't know what I was looking for, and turns out I hate this white colored wine. But that I think that must speak to your like the quality that you get from suppliers, and possibly the way you recommend wine to people.
Correct. And the description. So the description of our wines, it's pretty accurate, because the way we build the description is while we are testing the wine. So the wine team and all our buyers, our broker teams, they take notes while tasting the wine, and those notes are actually the one that goes into the website. So
that's
it's
cool.
absolutely no bow ties, or we're not making things up. Which is how it tastes for us. It will taste for you, and we are the customer tacitly is leveraging our experience to try the best wine. And the policy of free returns is to reduce the friction of and simplify the decision making again. Because if you don't like, you just can return it, and that's fine. You can order something else and come with questions. What are the things that you didn't like? That's it. There's no question asked. We will improve that.
Do you have a sense of your return rate versus the industry? Like, is there more traditional online retailers for wine, and is there return rate?
Yeah, compared to the benchmark, I do not know, because I'm pretty sure that we are one of the few that has this policy of the free returns. And again, without comparing ourselves to others, just looking at our numbers, the returns is not an issue at Vinomofo. We don't have a return department. We don't have people specifically taking care of returns. We just have an amazing customer service team that take care of the 100% happiness. And where one of the tasks is just to make sure that if there are returns, we just process the returns, provide the refund, and probably ask for feedback.
It's pretty interesting, though. I would guess that other retailers might not be able to offer it because of the problem that you're solving, where people, if you're asking them, they don't know what they want, and they find it hard to understand what all these different wine terms actually mean. The chances that they're going to make a mistake is probably a fair bit higher. And so by presenting wine in a language that everybody can understand, you're actually helping people make choices that are more true to what they're after. And that gives you this competitive advantage where you can offer this pretty amazing returns policy, but because of the way that you're cutting through the BS language, people are going to make the right choice.
Just stepping a bit outside of Vinomofo world, it's on the marketing side, is how the company believes on the product that the company sells. We believe what we sell. We know what we sell. We know it's actually fantastic wine, and we believe it. So we are not scared of offering that policy.
Yeah.
And another company that does it very well, or at least they used to, I think they do it these days, is Uber. Uber Eats. If you try to say like, I didn't like it, or because it didn't meet my whatever expectation, Uber will give you a refund because they trust in their platform, they trust in their suppliers, they trust in the chain, and that is fantastic. And it's more or less the same. Both the companies, they trust in their products, they know that nothing is perfect, but they take it as a feedback to continually improve the offering for the customer, delivering 100% happiness guarantee.
So your suppliers, I feel like your approach is quite different to anything that used to exist in this industry. Given that a lot of them have been in the industry for a long time, were they on board straight away and they were waiting for something like this, or actually it took a bunch of education to convince them that this is a way to unlock a great opportunity for them? What did that look like?
Yeah, definitely it was a journey. Probably 8 years ago, it's not what it is right now. So it took an education journey that is not to the supplier, but also for ourselves to keep understanding how the industry actually wants to operate, understanding the supplier's challenges and understanding the customer demands. And that is, what price are they willing to pay and which wines do they want to drink? And bringing that together, being as a retail model, how can we optimize both of these relationships to have a great balance? And I think we are far from been perfect, but we are in a pretty good deal with the suppliers where they understand how Vinomofo operates and to meet the customer experience that we want to deliver with that wine. We wish we could have offer more and more wines, and there are hundreds and billions of reasons why we would like our range is the way it is, because a very specific range, very well curated, because again, goes with our policy where we sell only the wines that we like. It's only good wine only, and the suppliers, they know that.
That makes sense. And I mean, that's probably it's interesting where you're at the stage you are now, where your business has grown a lot. I imagine it's validated the opportunity for the suppliers, and now the curation is actually like you're in a more powerful position to offer curation because you understand your customers more. You're seeing what's successful, and you can go to suppliers and be like, look, when something's successful with us, this is the kind of volume it can do. And so this is the bar we need to be met. And then as a supplier, that's not only like, you know, I think you've moved well beyond this place where you're trying to convince them of an opportunity. It's like you've proven that there's an opportunity, and you can probably actually quantify how much of an opportunity there is. And so as a supplier, that's pretty enticing, I think.
Correct. It's a win-win situation for win-win-win is the supplier, the customer, and Vinomofo. And that's how we keep everyone happy. It's true that we do respect the curation of the wines, and that's a policy if we are suppliers. We also deliver mixed cases where we probably interpret what the customer's needs are and build the case to meet those needs for the customer. So we bring a great price from the suppliers, the need from the customer to try different wines in one single box, and put it available on Vinomofo.com. So that's an example of meeting a great supply chain and understanding the customer demands and expectations.
That makes sense. So when we chatted earlier, we were like, oh, I'm actually really your target market customer because I like wine, but I don't know really anything about it. And I don't know the difference between a lot of names. I just know what I like. And we thought it would be fun and to do a testing on this show and kind of and show people. So you sent me some wine for that. And to prove how much I don't know about wine, I actually had to go out this morning and buy some wine glasses because I didn't have any in the house. That's how much of a Neanderthal I am. And so I went to the wine shop, and this is where the wine world even gets more complicated. I was like, I need a wine glass. And he's like, which one? I was like, I don't know. Like, there's all different shapes and different things. And I pointed to one, and he's like, that's a Burgundy glass. And I was like,
Burgundy.
I don't know what that means. I was like, I saw this one, which has a pretty interesting 2020 label. The Rona. And I was like, that looks like wine glasses I've seen before. Like, how about that one? And he's like, yeah, that's a red wine glass. I was like, okay, well, there's only red or white, isn't there? So I'll get that. And then I was like, well, dude, that's red. What's white? And he gave me this one. And so I have my dual Rona glasses. And you've sent me some wine. So I think we should kind of do a bit of a live show showing people what this actually looks like. And we can try to see if I would describe things in a way that might appear on your website.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. And I will join you because I did have mine prepared. And as you can see, it's very similar to your red wine. And actually, there are different type of red wine glasses. And not a while ago, we got a customer that saw an ad that we were promoting Pinot Noir, and the glass that we were using wasn't a Pinot Noir glass. And he actually suggested, it's like, can you use a Pinot Noir glass? And we were like,
oh, wow.
Yes. Yeah, that'd be fantastic. We and obviously we know what a Pinot Noir glass is, but it's not the message that we want to deliver to everyone. Like, it's okay. It's not a Pinot Noir glass. It's fantastic. You can drink. It's all about the good wine. And bring it to everyone. Not everyone can afford a Pinot Noir glass, and that's okay. That's fantastic. It's and probably without meaning that it's just, yeah, probably we'll try to use Pinot Noir glasses, but it won't be a core thing in our strategy.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I did debate just using a water glass on this call, but I was like, it's probably a level where you need to at least use like a cylindrical, wine glass. That's a starting point.
Yeah, I will be a little bit not disappointed, but I will say, James, I was expecting more. Because a bit of a glass, one glass would be ideal.
Yeah, that would be. I think that would be fair pushback, especially after you've sent me half a dozen bottles of wine. The least I could do is actually have a wine glass.
What bottles do you have there? Because I cannot remember all the wines that I've sent you.
So we've got one, which this is actually Le Rosé, Henry Faber.
Yes, you got all the rosés.
Yeah,
yes.
It's a rosé party. Chateau du something.
De Clapier. Excuse my French. Clapier. Is that the Clapier? I imagine so.
Yep, it is. Well, and then we've got another French friend. We started on a high with Le Rosé. Everything since has gone into somebody's fancy house. Chateau.
Ooh. Most of those wines are, as you can tell, French. Oh, that is good. All of those wines are very, very good. Yeah.
Did well.
With the rosé, do you have food with you? Have you eaten?
You were talking about Uber Eats. I have eaten. You were talking about good. Uber Eats before. I live by myself. I'm a pretty typical guy. Like, I actually live on Deliveroo. If you see Deliveroo goes out of business, it wouldn't surprise me if James Gilbert in Singapore had something to do with it, because they have this Deliveroo Unlimited plan, which for $10 you get free deliveries for a whole month.
Wow!
So it's like, it's madness. Like, I literally live on Deliveroo, and it costs about the same as it would cost for me to cook because I live by myself, and so. Yeah,
and that's actually for the sake of the conversation, I think the economy and the customer and the customer is getting more educated in terms of the economy of things. And as you say, that $10 is not the $10. It's actually not cooking, because you probably your time probably it's more valuable than those $10, and that's how you. Want to?
It's debatable.
We can discuss that in another webinar, but it's how people make decisions these days. And there's another plenty of services, food delivered, like the meal plans. You're not buying the food. You're buying you're buying time for not cooking and enjoying things that you probably wouldn't have enjoyed if you had to cook. That's economy.
There's even, like, I think you kind of touched on it, where people buy a lot of things for convenience, or they buy things for simplicity, often as much as the raw product. And one of the things that has frustrated me when I've tried to cook, apart from an inept ability to actually cook, is that I have to buy all these ingredients, and to buying for cooking for one meal, you can never actually buy the right amount of ingredients. And so you end up either having to try to make use of those in another meal, cook and eat the same meal, have leftovers and eat the same meal for a bunch. There's actually an inconvenience in the output of the cooking, which is like, you can't just get the exact ingredients you need for one meal. If I had some cooking skills and wanted some spices and all that stuff, like, I'd have to go and buy the whole spice rack, and like, if I just wanted it for one meal, it's super inefficient. But I think you're right; those more meal prep styles they have the convenience around the
I
ingredients.
would like to say that I thought about that when I sent you the rosé, because the rosé is the one that you get in storage once you open it. It's not like a red wine that once you open it, probably it doesn't have much time to lose its flavors and lose the quality of the wine. So I think I made a good decision with the rosé, because I don't want you to waste 6 bottles of wine. And I don't want you to drink 6 bottles of wine either at the same in one day, so that would not go well.
Very dangerous as well, yeah. So I've opened this one. Which glass should I use? Because this is like, you've kind of ruined my red-white thing, because this feels it's in the middle.
To be honest, and going with the Vinomofo way, use whatever you like.
Okay.
Go with the Rona. I like the Rona one.
Yes. I feel like
Fantastic.
Rona's definitely made
Be
people
gentle with the pouring.
Okay. What does it be gentle with the pouring mean?
Don't go. Just go gentle. Just touch. That doesn't. It's I don't know if you notice in some restaurants. It's most of the restaurants. It's if you go to a fancy one, the garçon, the waitress, would never touch the bottle, would never touch the glass with the bottle. That is like in the philosophy of wine and dining, that's like a no-go. How dare you? And the reality is like, how important is that? Would that ruin the taste of the wine? Probably not. Yeah. And that's what the Vinomofo way is. Like, you drink wine to enjoy, be with family, friends, etc., partners, to enjoy with good wine. Then you don't have to dress with a tuxedo to drink wine. You don't have to. If you touch the glass with a bottle, that's fine. That's why you probably have more glasses, but just don't break it.
Okay. It's definitely, as I was doing research, it's definitely a brand after my own heart. Like, I do think a lot of those constructions are kind of BS, that it's like you have to have this other language, or you have to like act in a certain way, or understand these things that are unnecessarily complicated. It's like, no, like, does it taste good or not? And is it in my price point or not? And that's kind of all that should matter, I feel like.
Yeah, it's what it matters to you. And you're not drinking wine to impress people. It's what wine means to you.
Correct. Yeah. And you're not asking for it in a way to impress people. It's not like, oh, blah, 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 let me demonstrate my knowledge. It's like, I'm eating lamb. Is there something that's good with lamb?
I mean, it's always nice. It's always very nice to do those things. I think those type of things are probably a bit far from everyone. I think it's and that's not what we want. I want good. We want good. Have good wine for as many people as we can, and they can drink it however they want.
So I've poured this. I've poured a very small amount. If Kip or Kieran, my bosses, are watching this podcast, what should I do now? I've seen lots of movies where they like swirl it around.
Gentle, give it some air. Probably rosé, they need a little bit less air than probably a red wine. Again, I'm the head of marketing. I'm not the head of buying. John Clark, the head of buying, probably will hate me for doing his job. But the reality is just give a bit of a swirl. Don't ever grab the glass like this, please. That will hurt me.
How should you hold it like this?
Yeah, just gentle 3 fingers. Some people, depending on what drink you're doing, you can hold it like this. Depending on what you drink. Again,
my dexterity's not that good.
Yeah, for me is, again, the holding doesn't really necessarily will ruin the drink. And this is how I do it, and you can do it how you please. Probably we could follow the book of how to taste wine, the master classes. There are a few online. Just Smell it. Look at it. How does it taste to you? We're drinking different wines, obviously. I just want to see what do you perceive from that wine, and then I could probably read what the description is if you want to
Okay.
do a bit of a challenge.
Let's do that. Okay. What does it taste like? Okay, it tastes reasonably light. Like I could, it's probably something you could drink a bit of. This might be bad, and I hope the producer's not listening and gets angry. Like, it feels like almost a bit of a alcoholic-y apple juice. Like it's like a really light apple juice type feeling. And it's weird. It's like it hits the tip of my tongue and it hits the back of my throat, and not really anywhere in between. I'm going to get some hate mail from the producer about that apple juice comment.
We'll do. Nah, you'll be
I love
fine,
apple
you'll be
juice,
fine.
though. So
We won't tell him. What was the name again of the wine?
It's
the Fondrèche. Domaine Fondrèche?
yes, that's exactly the pronunciation that I was about to say.
This is actually a nice game. Tell me 3 attributes again from the wine.
Light for sure, and almost like apple-y. Drop the juice, like almost like apple. Like it tastes like I'm taking a bite of a fresh apple. It kind of hits the back of my throat as well.
So, see, you were not very far. You're actually good.
Okay.
Like, you could taste more wine. That's actually good. So, this wine is, it's very rich in berries. So, no apples, but mostly berries, but very fruity.
Close cousins. Yep.
We put the bucket of cousins. Delicate, light body, bright. So, all these descriptions, you felt it. So, again, you know how, I assume, James, if you lie to me, if you're not a connoisseur, pretty sure that you are spot on. So and that's what we want. We want people that can enjoy the glass of wine with their own language, and then we can probably add a couple of more and better description to that. But it's how you taste it, and it's fine, and it's actually quite accurate to what a wine actually is. So you're good at James. Well, if you need a marketing job, mate, you can jump.
I'll keep it in mind. If we had me drink all 6 bottles, I think you could probably have got me across the line, maybe on the podcast. But so how do you, as a company, think about this? So I think when you started, there was this pretty clear challenge where there was a language around wine that gave it an unnecessary and false exclusivity. And you've really done a good job of breaking that down. How will you know you've achieved success in democratizing wine for people that are just after something that tastes good to drink? And
success, it takes time to analyze that success. How do we cross demographic within wine? Is seeing different demographic of people drinking wine. That is one of the metrics that I actually take care of it. Market share of what is a wine online, which is a market that we compete, and that will tell me that we succeeded within our strategy. And I think can't put words in without Justin. Justin is the founder, but I think he's not really interested to be excessively the number one. He just wants to bring wine, pair it with food, and keep happy people. And sometimes we understanding the dynamics of the market. That doesn't mean that you might be exclusively the number one. You're gonna be in a really good position, and that's what we want. So I think that's something very important to keep in mind.
Is there anything though around like the number when you think about, we're trying to serve more demographics to really open this up? I know when I used to work for Red Balloon, we had this big, hairy, audacious goal of we wanted, I think it was 2 million experiences to happen in Australia. And that was our idea of success. As it relates to like Vinomofo customers, is there a number of customers you're shooting for that will kind of indicate to you that you are democratizing wine?
Justin always says that he wants 1 million happy mofos.
Oh, okay.
Be great to have 1 million happy mofos.
Yeah.
And I think it's as you get into the more marketing metric is how you define what a customer is. And
that's interesting.
Because it's someone that purchased once a customer that we want to keep, yes, but probably needs more time to nurture that content so they can become a more loyal mofo. And that's what we want, the quality customer drinking quality wine and loving our product as much as we love it. So it's always good to put numbers. I love putting numbers. I'm a very analytical person. But I prefer quality over quantity.
I think one of the things that, so this show is called Unconventional Business. And the trend with all our guests is they did something unconventional that was right and they saw success because of that. And I think you guys have shown that in the wine industry where for hundreds of years, people thought you had to understand this wine language in able to understand what wines to buy and what was good and what you liked. And you've kind of shown that, no, you can use your normal daily language and figure out what wines you like, and that's going to open it up to a lot more people. Is there something you're doing now that people are doubting, that they're saying like, no, you can't, that's not the way the world works? And you're like, oh, actually, we think this is the way the world works.
Very complex question, James. Love it.
Well, it's because we've only had half a glass of wine, not 6 bottles.
Yeah, thank God. It's getting philosophical. The answer is always it depends. Because we obviously have different goals as a business. Then within the business, we have brand goals. So it really, really depends.
I guess maybe one interesting way to think about it would be if someone's saying, oh, I don't know why Vinomofo exists if I can just go to Dan Murphy's and buy wine. How would you answer that? Like, why would you say that Vinomofo exists?
You can always go to Dan Murphy to buy wine. And I will never stop anyone to go to the competition to buy wine. What I will encourage is just to try the wines that Vinomofo sells. And you can try the difference because we don't sell the same wines. And the brand promises are different. One retailer sometimes promising the best price guarantee, which is arguable. And we don't promise the best price guarantee. We just promise epic wine deals and good wine only. So we bring good wine, good value with the wine. And I will actually encourage people to try the difference between buying a Shiraz 2017 in one place and buying a Shiraz 2017 from Vinomofo, and they will know the difference. It will taste different. The experience is different. Making a line in a supermarket is different than buying online. The boxing is different. There's so many elements that why I would buy from Vinomofo than compared to someone else. I believe that we offer the best wine in Australia, to be honest.
It seems a lot of those points really tie up to curation. And so like while you started with democratizing the language around wine, now you're layering in this curation layer of, no, we have tasters in the field. That's how we're putting it in a language everybody can understand. And like, you know, there's so many wine varieties out there and so many producers. Instead of us giving you this unlimited selection, we're actually going to give you a curated selection in a language you can understand. And that seems to be the counterpoint against Dan's, where it's actually Dan's is lowest price, whatever you want. It's like, no, we have done the hard work of actually finding you the best products, and we are talking about them in a language you can understand. And so we're actually eliminating a bunch of the choice through our curation. And that's how we're unique.
Yeah, and that's a business that we want to build based on the curation, because the curation will bring sustainable audience to be a long-term relationship with it. I don't want to offer a product that because it was cheap, someone goes to Vinomofo and buys once and never buys it again.
Yeah.
I just don't want that. I don't want the customer to perceive that. To do it is fantastic. I'm not saying it shouldn't. I believe a good customer, it's the relationship I want to be with my customer is someone that is always want to buy one from Vinomofo because they know that they're going to get good wines and a ridiculous great price, and with the freedom of returning if they don't like. That's what I want the customer to take from Vinomofo, with a selected curated wine. And the reality is, like, if you like Shiraz, any Shiraz that you buy from Vinomofo.com, you will love it. Trust me. It's as simple as that.
It's been really interesting to learn about Vinomofo a lot as someone that enjoys wine, but somebody that has never been able to ensure that he was buying stuff that aligned with what he enjoyed. I love the service like you guys existing, where I can kind of, if I want to understand my choices more, you've democratized that, and you've presented it in a way that I want to understand. And then if I just want to trust your judgment instead of my own, which quite frankly, after my apple juice comment is probably a smart move, I can do that as well. And you're providing me with good quality wines at a fair price. So I think you've got a customer for life in me.
What else you want?
Yeah, exactly.
I will probably add to that probably fast delivery. The returns, friendly, uber friendly, and human contact when calling customer service. They're a very fun bunch of people. They will probably joke with you. They will, and that is actually what it makes it the real difference. That the relationship with our customers. And Justin always says, like, we want to keep happy mofos. That's what we want.
Yeah.
That's it. It's sometimes we, and including myself, we get confused with different messages around the business world, where sometimes we simplify. We just keep the customer happy. Just keep the customer happy. It will return. Just give them the product that they want at the price that they want to pay. Don't be invasive with the marketing. Be settled. Be relevant. It's actually not that hard. Well, it is hard.
It's simple but hard. It's like a lot of things. We need to sell it for more than it costs us to buy it, and we need to make sure our customers are happy. And those two things are pretty simple, but they're hard to pull off in a meaningful way, because it requires, a lot of skill around execution. It requires balancing a lot of different parties. It requires you to stay always relevant. I imagine as you've seen success, you've probably also seen a bunch of copycats and people trying to do similar things. And so you need to always be innovative on your offering to deliver against those core principles of making sure the customer's happy and making sure you are actually making money as a business. But it seems like you guys are managing to stay ahead of that pretty well and growing substantially. I know you've expanded beyond Australia, and now, I'm here in Singapore, and you managed to deliver me 6 bottles extremely quickly. And I think New Zealand as well. Yeah,
New Zealand. We have the shop online there in New Zealand. Different markets, and now international expansion. It's a delicate topic because of COVID. I don't think Vinomofo was the only one impacted by COVID. It's a reality which affect international markets. So that's an interesting one. I would like to do Vinomofo everywhere. I'm from Argentina. I would love to have Vinomofo Argentina. But that's not going to happen.
Well, no, not yet.
No. I don't think we will know what the concept of mofo is in Argentina.
That is tricky. I know. I love that personification of the brand because I do think it really, I know it came about quickly through doing research of your story, but it actually speaks to what you stand for in a really interesting way where it's like, no, we are, I don't want to say anti-establishment, but we are about saying the things that have been unsaid in the wine world, and like Mofo's probably aligns pretty well with that.
I don't think we want to be a massive retailer that has the typical massive retailer model. I think we want to remain independent. We want to keep our happy mofos, and that's where we operate, and we are happy with it. Obviously, we want to grow the business, by keeping our philosophy as its core of our values.
Well, I think it's very authentic too. And that's actually really, when you get to the crux of what your success has been in taking away the pretentiousness around wine, is you've actually empowered people to authentically choose and understand and talk about wine in a way that everybody else can relate to. And I think that means things like you don't get as many returns because you're talking to people about wine in a way they can understand. You're not intimidating people with having to learn this language, and so they're not then intimidated from sharing wine with other people. You're really empowering them to authentically enjoy a drink that everybody, should enjoy in the way they want. And whether that's out of a water glass or a $9 Rona wine glass, it shouldn't really matter at the end of the day. So I love your approach as somebody that's, what would you say, authentically opposed to any form of pretension. I'm a big embracer of brand like yourself. So thank you for existing. I'm definitely going to be a customer for life, and I've really enjoyed our chat. And thank you for the 6 bottles of wine. That's a bit of a perk of this job. I joked around that Joe Rogan got 100 million, and I haven't got anything yet, but 6 bottles of wine is a good start.
No, thank you for the kind words. Actually, that's good to hear. I always take time, at least once a week, to go through these questions and make sure that I'm delivering what I say I was going to deliver.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I've really enjoyed the chat. I enjoyed the wine, and I'm looking forward to enjoying the other 5 bottles that you so kindly
Be careful, drink responsibly. Remember, it's not a race. It's not even a marathon. Yep. It's just enjoy it.
All right, Mariano. Well, thanks again for joining us. I've really enjoyed our chat.
Thank you, James, and good job. I love the podcast, and keep doing what you're doing. It's fantastic for your audience.
Thanks for tuning in to Unconventional Business by HubSpot. If you liked what you listened to, please subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next episode.